This second RamSelect presentation is to explain to you how to use the site to store RAM team information and also genomic flock profiling information, and then to use that information to refine your RAM searches for the future and make sure that you're buying RAMs that are actually going to progress your flock in the direction that you'd like to go. So one of the first questions it's very important to ask in terms of assessing the performance of your flock is, how good is the current team of RAMs that you have at home? And are they having the right impact in terms of taking you in the direction you want with your business? Is it, if it might be to improve fleece weight or weight traits, or to improve fertility, etc. And one of the really important metrics we can calculate for a commercial flock is the team average of the current RAMs that you have on the property. And that's a really important benchmark for guiding future RAM purchases. So within the RamSelect site, we have a section under My Flock which is called My RAM Team Manager. And you can see here I've opened up a RAM team that I've previously stored, and the team is called Kennedy Creek. And we've got 7 animals showing on the screen there that are in that RAM team. And you can also see we've got their animal ID, the year that they were first used, and it's indicating that they're still active in the RAM team. So that's very important information for calculating an average on a year-on-year basis. So the way that we can add RAMs into a RAM team is by using either the Add New RAM facility, or if you have a large number of RAMs you want to load up, it's best to import them using a CSV file. And if you contact the Sheep CRC, we can certainly help you to do that. But just to show you the simple single data entry mechanism, you just go to adding a RAM. You enter in this Sheep Genetics 16-digit ID and a visual ID if the RAM has that. Very important to put the first year that RAM was used, and make sure you enter a month prior to joining so that it gets calculated in that team average. And then the year that animal was retired out of the RAM team. And once again, make sure that date's after joining date for that particular year. When you've entered all that information, you just click on the Check ID box, and it'll go away to Sheep Genetics and bring back all the information relating to that RAM and bring it into RamSelect. And that's how we build the information that's sitting in that Kennedy Creek RAM team at the moment. Once we've got the information in there, we can use the benchmarking and genetic change functions to have a look at what's happening to the genetic potential of our RAM team over time. So another thing that we can also do is to rank the RAM team based on a standard industry index or a breeding objective that you've saved previously. So let's say you wanted to know how the RAMs ranked according to the Carcass Plus index. You just, they are actually ranked in that order at the moment, from best to worst for the Carcass Plus index. So very powerful in terms of determining which RAMs you should keep for the future, and also understanding how they fit with a personalised breeding objective if you've already saved one. The benchmarking facilities within RamSelect are also very powerful. So for the RAM team that's on the Kennedy Creek RAM team that we have on this site, you can see for each individual Australian sheep breeding value, we can have a look at the range that exists within industry, which is the yellow box, from the 0 to the 100th percentile. We've got the range that exists within the current RAM team that we're looking at, which is the turquoise box. And then we have the industry average, which is the red bar, and the average of that RAM team, which is the purpley blue coloured bar. So you can see for this RAM team that in terms of post-weaning weight, they're very much on average for the industry. Also for weaning weight, they're very much on average. In terms of fat depth, which is the lowest one on the left-hand side there, you can see they're a little bit leaner than the average of the industry, a little bit more negative. And in terms of birth weight, they're a little bit above average. So this information is really important if we know the direction we want to take our enterprise. So let's say we want to improve our weaning weight or our post-weaning weight, we need to look for RAMs in the future that are much better than industry average. We can also track change in the RAM team over time, and that's why it's so important to enter the years of use for each individual RAM very accurately. And so you can see in this RAM team that since between 2012 and 2017, they've actually improved the team average for post-weaning weight and weaning weight by a reasonable amount. but number of lambs weaned and eye muscle depth have pretty much been about the same, haven't changed very much. So that really gives you some really good guidance as to how change is occurring in your flock, and if you want to make faster change somewhere, then you really need to change the minimum value for an ASBV if you want to make a movement in that one. The second thing I wanted to talk about was how to store genomic flock profiling results in RamSelect. So the CRC has now released flock profiling as a DNA test, and there is another YouTube presentation explaining how that works. But when those results come back, we will store them under this flock profile tab within the RamSelect software. And once it's there, we can do the same benchmarking as we did with the RAM team, so we can have a look at what the average for the flock is and compare that to the industry database. So in this case, we've got, once again, the yellow box is the range of values that exist within industry for yearling weight. The red bar is the industry average, and the purple bar is the flock average result for this flock. So we can see that in terms of yearling weight, this flock is a little bit below industry average. And once again, if you've done a DNA profiling test over multiple years, you can track change in traits over time. And there's some example data there for yearling weight where they've tested 3 years in a row, and there has been some uplift between 2015 and 2016. So 3 really important pieces of information that you as a RAM buyer can store on RamSelect. Firstly, a breeding objective that you can come back to in subsequent years, make small alterations to it if you wish to, or continue to buy RAMs based on a consistent breeding objective. Secondly, storing that RAM team data and the genomic flock profile information, and using those 2 benchmarks to really guide future purchases once you know your breeding objective and where you want to go with your flock. So summing up, you can use RamSelect, the website, on either a laptop, a tablet or a smartphone. It really helps RAM buyers be prepared for the sale. They can do all this ranking and preparation of breeding objectives and benchmarking prior to the sale and go to the sale day really well prepared, and really focus on looking at those visual traits that are still so important in your RAM selection, making sure there's 4 legs, teeth, testicles and the right wool quality in the rams if they happen to be merino. And the ASBVs are just going to make a massive difference to the amount of precision that you apply to RAM selection.
What animals are the industry distribution figures derived from?
So the yellow box that we described in the benchmarking tool is the range of values that exist within the sheep genetics database. So these are all ram breeding flocks, and it shows you from the highest to the lowest value right across industry for that particular trait. So as a commercial person comparing to the ram breeding population, you have to accept that you're probably never going to be in the top 10% because they'll all be stud sires that are never available for sale, and your commercial user are rarely going to be at that point either. So don't panic if you don't think you're at the top end, but always the main thing is to be aiming for improvement.
I both use the genomic flock profiling as well as managing my RAM team data. Which tool should I be using to set where I'm currently at?
So if you're in a position where you've got both accurate RAM team benchmarking data and you've done flock profiling, the RAM team data is much more precise and much more accurate in terms of the genetics that you've put into your flock in the past, because we just have much more information, and they're derived from a lot more information, those breeding values. So use those to set your benchmark for future purchases. The flock profiling result is really showing you where your U-base is trending, and just to double check that they're heading in the direction you want them to. Remembering that they're going to start from a different base to where than the rams, and half the genetics is coming from that U-base.
Lou, I'm having a bit of trouble loading my RAM teams into RamSelect. They have ASBVs, but they're not showing up on RamSelect. Why is that happening to me?
That can happen sometimes if the ram breeder has chosen not to make their information public on the sheep genetics website. We rely on an automated data transfer pipeline, and they must have indicated that their information is publicly available. If at any time you're having difficulty entering RAM team information or finding the right data on the RamSelect site, just contact us at the Sheep CRC through the inquiry system that's on the website, and we'll be able to help you sort that one out. The other important message is if you would like the stud that you buy your rams from to put their rams on RamSelect and they're not there, encourage the breeder to list them, because there's more and more people looking for rams on that site, and it's in their own interest to have their rams listed.
Lou, will it cost me anything to store my data on RamSelect?
So for this next ram selling season, 2017-18, there will be a nominal charge to store information on the site. I'm sorry, I can't tell you the exact amount yet, but it will be quite reasonable. But if you've done a genomic flock profiling test at a cost of $800, then you'll get a free account for 12 months in RamSelect.